Hello, and welcome to another day of TA the Degen way. It's been a few days since we took a look at the Bitcoin price. Just figured I'd hop on and do a quick update. This is one of our charts we posted about 4 days ago on TradingView Ideas, just looking at this average range that Bitcoin has been forming. So here we got about a 25% range. Here we've got about a 25% range. And then here, you can notice here, we came in, we topped, we retested, we topped, we retested, topped, retested again. And then now we've pushed up and we just blew right through this whole area. But, 32,000 area, 32K, with, it's been our macro yearly resistance level. And, now we've pushed right through here. We've came a half a range up and rejected hard. Now, I see just a few options. I like the green option the best. I would like to see price come down and retest the bottom of this range, as it has, and then push on up to the 3/4 mark and pull back to the half and go to the top, or at least rise to the top, which brings us up to, our 48 to 52K target area. But, if we lose the bottom of this range, and as we zoom in, we'll see, we got a nice, pretty clear trend line here that can be drawn. If we lose this range and come back and retest it, well then, we can still remain macro bullish and assume that the rally high is not in until we actually put in some kind of a lower low. Like come down and put in a lower high and a lower low and break this trend. Well then, we got trouble. Find it unlikely. In all seriousness, what I would really like to see is we had our 1 year long bear trend and a nice sideways trend that breaks and retests some support, like the support it left behind here. We retested support. Here was resistance, flipped into support. Here was resistance, flipped into support. Here was resistance, and nothing, So, at some point, we could get an ABC here, bounce off the macro trend line and head up to our 48, 50K target. But at some point, I would expect this rally high to be in and retrace part of the way before continuing on a massive bull run. Maybe we just see continuous parabolic rise too. And really, this main macro uptrend is really the main gauge, and as it gets more feverish, we're going to have to draw some more in here if we do continue to the upside. But I've got a rally high I'm looking at about $48,000-$50,000, and when we get there, well then I'll consider looking at some short moves. We'll head right over to the regular chart here, and I was just looking at the smaller time frames. We're on the 5 minute, it's a little too small. Let's see. I'm not sure what that is. We'll get rid of that. Well, you can see our nice curvature in this price action. And, this trend here has been pretty well intact for quite a while. And we appear to be holding it, And really, until this trend breaks, now, when price came up here and we fell on down, we came back down to this trend, and now, looking at, looking at this retrace here, we were targeting a pullback into here, and looks like this is long gone. So if we consider from swing high to swing low, we are currently at our 50% mark. If we go from our last low Let's see, we are right at the 618 there and bouncing off of the trend line. I mean, I see two options here. We don't want to lose our local trend, and if we lose our local trend, well, then we'll probably, then this uptrend here is probably over. So we would be looking at a pullback at a minimum in that uptrend. Here's the low. It's been trending upward ever since. It got all the way to here, and then now we've kind of broke structure and put in a lower low, lower high. We did also right here, so I mean maybe there's an argument to be made that it started right here. Let's see, so we're going down, so we want these numbers going down. We want to know how much of this trend that pushed to the upside is going to retrace to the downside. What percentage of this trend? Is it going to be 10% of it, 50%? Well, typically it's 50 to 61.8%. Here's our last support resistance flip. If we take a look at this, let's pull a measured move. We'll play the local bearish argument, which is reasonable. And it would bring us right down to our 50% mark. Seems reasonable. That's a $39,000 Bitcoin. And then hopefully push on back up. If this trend holds, well, then we reverse the same thing. I mean, we can say that we had our breakout right here, a trend started, then that trend broke, and then, now we're hoping that we hold, but if we consider this to be a measured move, brings us up to 48,128. And as you can see, since we topped here and now we came down, look at volume. It's getting lower and lower and lower on this move down. Doesn't mean that we won't come down here, because we certainly can. I mean, this is our last support resistance flip. It was down at about 38,000, 38,125, 38,500. Dead smack in the middle of this golden pocket. I mean, you could say that right there is the exact, that's about perfect expansion and contraction. I mean, it could certainly end up there. And we're talking another 8% move. Let's hop on our oscillator. Looking at this hourly oscillator, this is the Fu Manchu. Let me switch to a Market Liberator because it's just a little bit cleaner. There we go. So, we got these trigger waves to the downside. I mean, this here could be considered a trigger wave to the upside, or a continuation of these to the downside. But what it looks like to me is you have a larger oscillation here. That is going to do something like this. You can see this here. Center of that one. Okay. So, what would you have here? I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. It would be ideal. It would be to push up to the top of that range. And let's see. So the hourly is looking pretty decent, like we could see that bounce. And then if we come down a little finer, the 12-minute here, money flow rising. It looks good. What's our VWAP look like? Our VWAP rejected at the 0 line. It's not the prettiest look. It does have you know, some not much curvature. We got a little extra volume here. Let's go down a little more. Let's go down to the 5 minute. Money flow coming down. Again, looks kind of mixed. Looks like we could see. Let's just blow up our oscillator here. You can see the nice rounded shape to that top. And here you got a nice rounded shape going to the upside. If you hear children, that's because I have more than one. Yes, that could be seen both ways. I mean, VWAP's down, starting to hook a little bit. Let's see, let's look at the price. Because we do have a higher wave. And we have a higher price. But more super locally, for a continuation sign, here we have a lower low and possibly a higher low looking to print on our wave trend. So really, I mean, what it comes down to is this trend going to hold? You know, if not, I mean, we're looking at a measured move coming down into that 0.5618 area, 39,000. But preferably would be to see price bounce up. Let's hop over and take a look at Ethereum real quick. Ooh. Nasty push down. So, zoom out a little bit. Here we see the same thing. Money flow is trending to the upside, while this trend is coming to the downside. I mean, that's a bullish signal, you know. And then looking at the totality of these waves, looking for a bottom, you know, right in this area. Let's see, so we're on the 5 minute. Let's just look at our range, because we're obviously sideways. See how much of our range is retraced here. You know, here's the bottom of our range, here's the top of our range. So we've broke the 618. Let's pull up a volume profile, because the question is this range going to hold? Okay. There we go. Value area low. Value area low. Interesting. So, hopefully, that is where we see our bounce. We'll zoom out a little bit here. I'm actually making some considerations of adding to a position here. Here is our last, get rid of all this. We've blown past all this. Same thing, here's our structure. You know, we consolidated here, we broke into this range, and so I mean this has been our average range. Right here you can see it, you know, whatever percent that is. So yeah, I mean this is our average range. We haven't broken structure. We do got a massive engulfing daily candle. That's not a pretty look. You know, same thing, could be looking at a measured move. If you pull the retrace from our daily swing low to swing high, This break of structure is a 50% retrace. So I mean, the question is does this low at 2150 hold? You know, I mean, in looking at our oscillation, I mean, there's room for a little bit more upside, maybe $2,500. But I mean, Ethereum is getting on the daily, at least, you know, to that area where, I mean, follow this oscillation. You know, you should be looking for a top here to, you know. So we have put in a lower high. So I mean, do we come down and put in a lower low, or do we come up and retest that high and play around? Would be the question. Or come up for a swing failure pattern, hit the $2,500 target that we've been waiting for, and then come down and break trend, which is what I would prefer. To put in a divergent. Here we got some slight divergence. You know, the oscillator's got a double top. Price put in a higher high. So I mean, what I would like to do is get some bearish divergence. And as we put in, you know, say this wave comes down, puts in our first trigger wave to the downside, comes up and puts in a higher high on the price, breaking the trend to the downside. Doesn't mean we'll get that. I mean, divergence doesn't always happen. Let's see here. So we need to look super locally here and try to decide, does this value area hold? Let's go down to our 12-minute. I'm actually going to make a small addition to my ETH long on another screen. So bear with me for a minute before this runs away. There we go. Alright. Let's see. So, looking at the 12-minute here. Let's get rid of all these lines. I want to go back to the hourly quick and see where, go to the 4-hour, see where our Ethereum trend line is coming out at. Because what we don't want is we don't want a serious break of structure or a break of that trend line. We haven't broke structure. We came all the way back to it, did a full retest and bounced beautifully, and could be, you know, we got a nice S curve. And so I mean, this range here, whether it's going to hold or not, while we just pulled back to the value area low and possibly getting a bit of a bullish bounce, and looking at this 12-minute or this 4-hour, I mean, and this is where the uptrend should be, is in this part of the oscillation. Here you see it coming down where you would expect a bottom. Right in here, you know, maybe this is our bottom. It is slightly divergent. It, you know, got a double bottom in the oscillator and a much higher low up here. It's hidden bullish divergence. So we could be looking at something like this, you know. Pull back, scare everybody and their brother, take one more rip. That'd be even better. So I mean, 12-minute looks pretty good, but we need to look at our trend line. This stuff here is old news. Here's our main macro uptrend, just like on Bitcoin. Let's take a look. While we got our fib tool out, let's go from true swing low to true swing high and assume that the high is in. So when this trend breaks, we should be looking for rebuy opportunities at a sweep of these lows. But for it to be in the golden pocket, a lot more time has to pass, you know, to retest this trend line. If we have a more abrupt come down, well, then we're looking at, you know, possibly hitting the 786. So if we assume that the top is in, this can give us some time references. Looking at this oscillation here, this 4 hour, let's follow this out. Kind of getting us in some of these areas. You know, we could start a nasty downtrend, or we could do something like this. Both seem reasonable, but until we break trend, I am going to continue to look for long trades, or until we hit those higher levels like 2,500. It is a huge psychological level. It's a huge number on the chart with a lot of confluence and technical references. So we are holding our trend line here also. I mean, for me, this is the reload on Ethereum, you know, which is why I kind of dipped away for a second there, because, I mean, you know, kind of worth it if it's going to take off one more time. And if we take our local swing here on the 4 hour, there we go. So we'll just have to watch what happens, being that we are clearly sideways here. When we come back up to this value area high, if we consider the volume profile of the entire range, ever since price has traded above this last break of structure, really we could also be bearishly retesting the POC and come down to that value area low, which is far less appealing. Come back up and retest it and reject. Also plausible. So that's what I'm looking at on Ethereum. For one more bonus one, we'll pop over to CFX. Been watching that pretty closely. It's one of the larger positions that I'm holding until the same thing. It also breaks trend, which it thus far has not done. Don't need that. Let's see. XLM is another one that if you're interested in the trade on that and the confluence behind it, there it is on TradingView, CryptoFile 622. You also can always join our free Discord with the link in the description. On there pretty much all day, off and on, along with a few other traders. So here's our CFX setup. You know, price with our 15% dump in 5 minutes really just pulled back to the trend line. You know, still looking for this bullish bounce, heading for these higher macro targets. Macro golden pocket, and my personal target is 25 cents, which is aligning, looking at the close prices on the daily, with this next unbroken. Here we broke this high. Been all higher highs, higher lows. Got a nice ABC move going into 25 cents, which is our next unbroken high, and is meeting with our trend line, only considering close prices, with a likely wick, you know, up into the golden pocket. And then we'll probably trend down, probably retrace from here to whatever this high is, probably retrace 50 to 75% of this push up. And if we're lucky, it'll only retrace a third, and then continue on to even higher prices, like break this high. But let's hop in and look more locally. We'll go to CFX. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Well, looks like we are looking at the same thing. Here's our uptrend coming up. This time here's cycle time that I'm testing. Looking to either be right here for a breakout or right here for a breakdown. And we're on the 4 hour here. Looks a little mixed. Could be a trigger wave to the downside, but when you look at the curvature of this, it looks like, you know, you would expect this to be much higher. You can kind of follow this curvature here on the downside, and momentum wise you can kind of see it locally building there, part of a much larger oscillation is what I am hoping for. So let's zoom in a little more. So on the 4 hour here, considering the same thing here, we have here's our last unbroken highs. We busted through there but pushed right up out of there and coming back down, and we had this wick down, filling in this wick. And let's go in more locally where I think it does look a little better as of about an hour or so ago. I mean, I see the same thing, you know. I would like to see this push on up here. But we could also consider the bearish option, which is that we have put in a, let's just get rid of all the drawings, that we have put in a lower high. So we would be considering a lower high and looking for a lower low, and it's going to get crowded again with the drawings. But if we consider this here a measured move, go from our high here, you know, that brings us back down to the bottom of this range at about 14 cents. So, you know, I am a buyer at this trend line, looking for a bounce or scale out of that thing. And I'm a buyer below 1470, looking for 14 to 1450. For some reason I was thinking it was 13, but no reason it can't go there either. But if we consider this here all sideways action, you know, we'll do that for a second. We got an overcrowded chart here because I've been trading this locally zoomed in. There's our value area high, and we are pulling back to retest it. So here we broke below, came back out of it right away, broke below, out of it right away. Let's look at our local volume profile. We are at the value area low. Most of the volume is up here. So I guess I'm going to continue looking for the same thing until we actually break this trend with more than just a wick. Like we come down here with trending down here, start a micro uptrend, retest it. We get a bearish rejection. If we trend below here, aside from just busting below, here we just wicked below, you know, then it's probably time to slow her down a little bit. But even if we bounce here, could also see something like this. No reason it can't happen, but until we actually break structure or break down, I mean, here we kind of do have a break of structure. Here's where we came up. Anything below this should have been considered bearish, you know. But at the same time, I mean, this is a serious altcoin with extremely insane volatility. So really, until we break this low or this high, anything in between is consolidation and noise. So until we actually start breaking structure here with this trend, I'm going to remain bullish on that. But hey, that's all I got for you for today. If you like the content, like, share, subscribe. Come join us in Discord where we're doing the same thing pretty much every night at 8 o'clock using the live channel in Discord. Totally free. We'd be glad to have you. Use the link in the description. But until then, trade well.